Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and it's a Sunday, so that means it's another random destruction. I do throw these in through the week occasionally as well, but Sunday is nearly always random destruction day. Anyway, I've finally got it. I finally got the FV215B. I've already got the Chieftain. I've been working towards getting this one, and now I've got it, I can actually do a review of the entire British heavy line all the way up with some sort of, well, like I say, reviews, tips, etc, etc. But a quick overview of the figures on this. It's got a 120mm gun, I think, if I remember rightly. 6.9 rounds a minute, so faster than the one on the Chieftain. Not the Chieftain, sorry, the Conqueror. But not quite as fast as the one on the Chieftain. 259mm of penetration with 400 average damage, 326 on its premium, and 120 pen on the Hesh rounds with 515 damage, and 1.7 second aiming time, which is not, again, slightly slower than the Chieftain's. It's still not bad. In fact, it's very, very good. And an accuracy of 0.33. Armour-wise, on the whole, you're looking at 152mm on the front, 102 on the sides, 76 on the rear, and the turret is 254, 152, 102, and that's front, sides, rear. So it's almost exactly the same turret as the top turret on the Conqueror, but it does have much thicker sides and rear. And this is my first match in it, and that was my first ever shot fired, and it went straight into the back of the Conqueror's turret because it just went derping straight in front of me. But never mind, these things happen, and like I say, this is my first match. I unlocked it yesterday. My wife had a quick game in it, but I didn't, and this is my first match in it today, and I quite like it. A lot of people say it's not as good as the Chieftain, and in some respects it's not. In other respects, it's slightly better. It's got a more thickly armoured hull. You know, it's not going to be stopping anything dead on and up close, but it's, you know, it's thicker than the Chieftain's hull. And, you know, it does have its other qualities. Its ground resistances, I think, are slightly better. But, you know, I like it, and I like the Chieftain as well, and I like them both for different reasons. They're just different tanks, and they do play kind of differently. You know, this is quite a good side scraping tank, although there's a little bit just underneath the front of the turret where it angles the armour. So when you are side scraping, you can get penned there quite easily. Now between us we managed to take out that IS-7, and I'm just going to try and work on this Type 4 heavy. Although I don't know if he's firing high explosive there or whether he's managing to pen possibly my commander's cupola, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to go for his, but it just hit on the angle and bounced. And it does take a bit of getting used to having a rear mounted turret. No, it doesn't take too long, but it does take a little bit of getting used to. Oh, and the competition, the closing time is approaching us. It's midnight tonight, BST, so I hope you've all got your entries in. Hopefully, depending on how many entries there are, I shall be announcing the winner sometime over the next week. So keep an eye out for that. Now, managed to take down the Type 4 Heavy with the help of this E100, I think it was. Oh, I forgot to say, it's Ruinberg, and it's an encounter as well. I did forget about that, and obviously it's a tier 10 match. I was just getting a little bit excited at having the FV215B at last. And like I say, it is different to the Chieftain. I do like them both. And I've got another Type 4 Heavy here, and I shouldn't have too much trouble putting him through the side of his turret. They are very heavily armoured, but this is very accurate, and it's got, you know, good penetration. And it does feel surprisingly mobile, actually. I was quite surprised by that. I don't know why. It does have quite decent traverse as well, ratings. I'm not quite sure what they are, so if we can look them up. I managed to take out the Type, when I can speak, the Type 4 Heavy, again with a little bit of help. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Traverse speed, 38 degrees, and turret traverse is 34. So yeah, 38 degrees isn't bad actually, it's quite good. It's got a 34km/h speed limit as well, which I did forget, and it's not got a bad power to weight ratio. As you can see, it sort of zips along. I did have to congratulate that guy on that shot. That was quite a decent one. There wasn't much of that tank showing, and I managed to take him out. And I've got behind the 100. He doesn't seem to be paying too much attention. And I really donked that one a little bit. He turns his tank and I hit him at a very extreme angle on the backside. So I'm just going to pull out a bit more. I managed to set him on fire, which was nice. So he just burnt his last little bit of health away. Right, so it's now down to one medium tank and one tank destroyer. And I took a bit of a speculative shot at where the 140 was. And just I fired, he popped up a bit further down, so it was a bit of a waste. Never mind. And it's just a case of whether we'll get up there, and we should do. In fact, the object's just been taken out, so that just leaves the tank destroyer, which I think is a Jagdtiger, possibly, if I remember rightly. And seeing as we've got somebody up there in the base, we're definitely going to be able to at least get up there and start doing some damage. In fact, we didn't even need to. That Jagdtiger got pretty much nuked then. So, not a bad first game, and like I say, I was quite pleasantly surprised by the 215B. I didn't quite know what to expect from it, but I do like it. It's like I said, it's different. You know, it is a different sort of style of gameplay, but it is very good at side scraping. But 4,800 damage done, so not a bad first game all in all, and I quite enjoyed it. So yeah, there you go, 215B. So pretty soon, probably over the next few weeks, I'll do those reviews of the British Heavy line. I'm not sure what tier to start at, possibly 5. I might include the Matilda. I quite like the Matilda, but we'll see. Anyway, we've got 3 replays tonight, and that's the first one out of the way, and here comes the second one. Right, so it's Karelia, it's tier 8 match, and it's a standard battle, and I'm in my M6A2E1, the Mutant 6. It's basically a very up-armoured M6. Essentially, it's just the M6 hull. It's got a 105mm gun and a very up-armoured turret, which is very reminiscent of the T29. You can imagine this sort of being a prototype for it almost. I don't think it was, but you know, you can let your imagination run, can't you, every now and again. But it's got a 960 horsepower engine, which means it's not got the best top speed, and it does feel a bit sluggish because it's heavy, but it's not too savage. Like I say, the 105mm gun is very similar to the T29's, although it's got a slightly lower rate of fire at 5.05. But it's still got 198mm of pen with 320 damage, 245 on your APCR, and then 53 and 420 for your HE, 2.29 second aiming time, so I think that's slightly slower, and 0.42 accuracy, which I think is about the same. Now, the turret armour and the frontal armour are where it's at with the Mutant 6. You're looking at 191mm on the front, and that does seem to be lower and upper plate, and it does have a bit of an angle to it as well, especially the lower plate, but you're only looking at 66 and 51 for the sides and rear, so you really don't want to let anything get around the side of you, and you've got to be very careful side scraping. But there's even some shoulders almost to the hull at the top, and I think they're 191 as well, so they're a bit of a false weak spot almost. Now, the turret armour, not as good as the T29, but still very, very good. 229 on the front, 89 on the sides, which is a bit poor, but a surprising 208 on the rear, and in my experience that has caught people out, and it does catch people out. You know, if they can just see your turret and you're facing one way and they get the back, they'll put a shot at it, and a lot of the time it'll bounce, and it gets preferential matchmaking, so it only sees up to tier 9 as well. But yeah, it's a nice tank. A little bit slow on the traverse. 24 degrees for the hull and only 23 for the turret. But I do like this tank. It earns, well, it does earn a lot of money. It can block a lot of damage. Like I say, it sees up to tier 9, and it can give tier 9s pause for thought. Your commander's hatch is, of course, a weak spot, and the turret ring as well in tier 9 matches. If you've got enough pen, you can get through there. I think you need about at least 200, I think it is, if I remember rightly, but I'd have to look into that. But to take one of these down, you basically got to get around the sides, or try and go for the commander's hatch. Or the turret cheeks as well, sometimes they're quite weak, so if the turret is turned slightly, you can go for those. but they are very, very tough from the front, and I'd say in a tin eye match you probably want to stay around mid-range, and you'll not have much trouble bouncing shots. Now we've managed to come all the way around the northeast corner, no, northwest corner, and pop out and just shave off the last little bit of health on that 5100. And then there you go, I get hit in the side, and that was at a very extreme angle, but it's still penned. Although now we're back to bouncing, which is nice, and I'm going to make a push straight through. A shot on the move with the Bulldog, which manages to hit, and I'm trying to get to this rock, and I was trying to keep that rock in between me and the enemy base area. And I'm just keeping an eye on that Bulldog to see if I can get another shot at him. No, he seems to have buggered off. So I'm going to back up a bit, keep an eye out, because there's 4 tank destroyers left. And one of their favourite spots is those ridge lines in front of this cap. And they can cover up here, and they can cover across the swamp. In fact, there's one of them, an IC-122S. Now, I know that he's not got enough pen to get through the front of my armour. He may be able to hit my commander's hatch though, so I've got to be careful of that. In fact, I think even his premium ammunition had struggled to get through the front of this. Now I've got to be careful, because there was a tank destroyer going into the swamp, and I don't really want to be giving anything my flank. Like I say, it's very, very weak. And that finishes off the 122S. And there's a Cheeto who did seem to be bouncing, although I think I might have seen things wrong, but all it took was one on the Cheeto. Almost felt sorry for him. Right, now that Bulldog, he's hiding down in this dip, this valley. There he is. I've got good gun depression as well. That's the other thing about this, you can really work the ridge lines. And you've got a bit of a slope at the sort of upper front part of your turret. And when you work in the ridge lines, that accentuates that even more. And it hides your commander's cupola as well, pretty much. I think it is still partially visible, but not very much at all, so it is a good thing to do in this. It's like a lot of the American heavies, they are very good at working the ridge lines, they have very good gun depression. In fact, a lot of the American tanks in general, it's sort of their trademark. Now, there's the Rheinmetall, take a shot on the move, but a miss, and what my plan is here, because we're outnumbered, is to basically get into cap, either try and split the enemy force, or cap out. And I was kind of hoping that one of those guys that came around the north and down the west there was going to join me in the cap. But they don't, and they actually carry on across just below the cap, and I'm not going to blame them at all. You know, they're trying to flank round and help out the other guys. You know, this could have been my mistake for coming to the cap, I really don't know. But that is a bit of a spoiler that I've just given away, but things just start going a bit See, I wasn't sure about hitting the Tiger's front plate. I wasn't sure that it'd pen, but I've got the top of his turret, you see, so I'm going for the commander's hatch because of the way he's angled. The top of their turrets are not particularly strong, just like a lot of tanks, you know, the top of the turret, the top of the engine deck are quite weak. So that's what I was going for, and possibly I should have taken the risk at his upper plate, but the Centennial's coming at me now, and so is the Borsig. And I put a shot into the Borsig, but that lets the Centennial come up a bit more on me. Yeah, you see what I mean? I don't know if I'm getting a bit critical of myself, so I'll back off a bit to try and deal with the Centennial. And I'm going for the ammo rack location. Lower front plate, either side. There's an ammo rack behind each side. And I was just going back and forward to try and stop him getting a shot on my commander's hatch. And if I can just get one more into him, that might just finish him off. But he's just popping back and forth. He's going for my commander's cupola, and then I remembered about the Borsig just as he pops up on the radar. And I go for the tracking shot, but he went slightly high, and the Borsig took me out. So there you go. I don't know if that was my mistake, whether that was the mistake of the other guys that they possibly didn't come into the cap with me. I really couldn't say, but who knows. And sorry about that car alarm outside there. But yeah, I don't know. But unfortunately, I'm now done for. I think we'll skip to the end and see how it actually goes. And unfortunately, that lone tank destroyer that was left couldn't quite hold them off. So it was a defeat, but not a bad score really for a defeat. I'll take that. I got sniper medal out of it, so I got the XP as I had won, but 143,000 silver earned, and just over, was that 3,800 or 3,600 damage done. So not too bad, not a shabby round, but like I say, I couldn't really say where the error lied there, or maybe it was just one of those things, or a mixture. You know, I'm quite willing to take the blame when I'm at fault. But yeah, it's just one of those games. Had a decent round, but unfortunately it just wasn't to be, so that was a loss. And we've got one more replay coming up for you now, and it's back in the Boilermaker. Right, so here we are for the last of the replays. Like I say, we're in the Boilermaker. It's back on Ruinberg, it's the war variant, and it's another encounter battle, and it's a tier 6 match. Now, the Boilermaker is essentially a fully upgraded Sherman Firefly, slightly better power to weight ratio, and it does have the addition of spaced armour in the form of these tracks stuck all over the thing. So it's got the Ordnance Quickfire 17 pounder, which is a good gun at tier 6. 12.7 rounds a minute, this is without equipment, 171 pen, 150 damage. Now, bear in mind the Panther at tier 7 gets 198 pen, which is slightly more, but only does 135 damage. And with a bit of equipment on and premium consumables, you can get the reload of this thing down to less than 4 seconds. But it is quite a, well, it is a really nice gun, but essentially it's on a tier 5 Sherman body. Like I say, 171 pen, 150 damage, 239 on your premium, and then 38, 190 for your HE, 2.1 second aiming time, and 0.38 accuracy, which can let you down slightly. 39 degrees of traverse on the turret, and 40 on the hull. Armour wise, well, the basic armour figures 51 for the front, 38 for the sides and rear. I did donk the first shot, I am going to acknowledge that, I'm not just going to ignore it, I did really screw that first shot up, but anyway. Turret armour 76 on the front and 51 on the sides and rear. Now, they're the basic figures, that does not account for the extra spaced armour, and it has saved me a couple of times. I think it saved me from artillery one match where it hit the spaced armour and it just got absorbed, which was very pleasant for once. But yeah, like I say, it's an M4 Sherman, but it's all about the gun. It's a bit like the Panther 88 in that respect, it's all about the gun. But it's got decent sort of crew and silver earning potential as well, so it's quite a nice little tank to have. And with it being available free now, I thought I'd put another replay up so you guys can see what this thing can be capable of occasionally. In better, well, if you're better than I am, which a lot of people are, then you'll be able to do a lot better than this. But it's at least it gives you an idea. But yeah, I do like this tank. You do have to play it a bit more cautiously though, like I say. Gun depression lets it down slightly though. I think it's only about 6 degrees. I want to say, I might be slightly wrong on that. But I bounced off that anyway. That was a bit unfortunate. I think at this point I was possibly training the crew up a bit more. Plus, it's got the, you know, the double XP. It's got the drop for when you win as well, which is quite good. But I'm actually sharing this crew with the 215B because of that last stand skill. That when you get down to less than 10% health, all your major qualifications are increased by, I think it's around 4 or 5%. Now at this point, we're in trouble. In fact, they're about to cap out. Oh shit! Can we get there in time to do it? Come on, somebody's got to reset the cap. And oh, you beauty! At that point, I actually thought this match was over. And as it just dropped to 0, somebody managed to, some absolute superstar, managed to reset the cap and just give us that bit of extra time. But we've really got to get down there. We basically managed to sweep down that eastern side, but we've got to get into the middle and try and take out some of these tanks, because there's quite a lot of them swarming around that cap circle, and they could cap out quite easily if they just protect the ones with the most points. Right, well now the cap's been reset a couple of times and we've actually got a bit of breathing space, so we can get down there and hopefully I can get into a position where I can start doing a bit of damage. And that was a bit of a risky shot on the T-150's turret, but I'm glad I took it because it damaged his ammo rack. Would have been nice to pop his turret, but hey ho, can't have everything. And now I've just got to be very careful. This tank's on both sides, and yeah, donked out a bit there and just took a hit from that KV-85. And looking at him, he's not got the 122mm. I managed to finish off the T-34. Sorry, I'm just holding my breath there. I was just waiting a sec. Yeah, it looks like he's got the. Is it an 85mm that he gets? So he's got a faster rate of fire than with the 122. It's popping out again, and I've just got to pop out, put a shot in, and pull back. But now he's on very low health. He's actually just pulled all the way back, which was quite a smart move. So it means one of us is going to have to come all the way out to try and hit him. And I've got to be careful of that other heavy on the right hand side of me, although he is, you know, there is a tank there, but if he's a heavily armoured target, it could just ignore him for a second and put a shot into my backside instead. So just keep an eye out. There's the KV-85, just let it aim in, and there you go. Took a shot up the arse from the other KV-85. Managed to spin around and put one into him, but then he takes me out. Just hoping to get behind those wrecks in time, but let's skip to the end and see how we did. In fact, no, I'm not going to skip to the end, because I just remembered that happened. So there you go, not a bad little victory. Now, bit of a spoiler, I don't come top of the table. It really doesn't bother me. It was a good fun round. I didn't even get loads of damage done, 1800 damage. I've been averaging a couple of thousand a match at least in that today, so I've been improving in it. But it was just fun. It had that intense bit at the middle where I really thought that it was over. When it dropped down to 0, it's like, no, that's it, game over. But then some legend reset the cap. So I don't know who it was, but if you're watching this video, you pretty much saved that game for us, so good on you. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed tonight's episode, and I'll be back tomorrow with another one for you, another video. As always, take care out there, and I will catch you next time. See you later.